This is the house that Davis built. This is the stranger who's moving into the house that Davis built.
I'm Gwen, his wife.
Mine's George. I'm his father.
This is Davis, who's just discovered the stranger living in his house.
What are you doing here?
What am I doing? What are you doing here?
You're in a lot of trouble.
I am?
How the hell come I never knew you were married?
Hi, honey.
Oh, my God.
Oh, he said, oh, what a great little town this was and what a fabulous house that he built. And the truth is,
You told him you were my wife?
I guess he was under the impression that I was
Insane?
To marry a woman whose face you've never seen until your wedding day at the hospital when the doctor removes the gauze?
What is happening?
Steve Martin
You can't stay here.
Why not?
is
You're a con artist.
Newton Davis.
Excuse me.
We have this amazing communication, you know, it's like,
When?
Goldie Hawn
I'm going.
Where did all this furniture come from?
is not
Well, I just told him to go ahead and put it on our account.
Mrs. Davis.
Would you mind not going around the house dressed like that? You know, you happen to look very pert.
I want this marriage to work.
What marriage?
She is the house sitter.
I'd like for you to call me Dad.
Honey, are you okay?
House sitter.
It is a great pleasure to welcome back to Cinema Showcase the stars of House Sitter, Goldie Hawn, Steve Martin. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again.
First of all, I've got to tell you, and I know you would throw me across the room if I didn't, how much I enjoyed this film.
Great. Thank you.
I was given that warning earlier, so but no, I really did. It was, and you know, it's so terrific to see a comedy with an audience as opposed to just maybe 3 or 4 critics or something, because it does add.
It's
something.
the only way to see it. I don't know how people
Yeah.
can judge a comedy when you're
I know.
sitting alone.
No,
I
it's
know.
really unfortunate.
Although, haven't you seen movies late at night on TV and you just sit there alone laughing?
Well, I do. I mean, I have certain movies,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, certain movies. But then again,
Then again, not.
it's much more contagious. If you saw it with a couple critics, and it's better seeing it with a large audience.
Also, I know that critics don't like to reveal to the other critics if they're enjoying a movie or not. So they're sort of very they don't want to laugh or give anything away.
Critics, I mean, I don't want to be naughty here, but, you know, these are audience pictures. These are pictures that please the audience, that make them laugh, that, you know, hopefully that's who they serve. Critics, historically, you know, don't come out and review comedies as being great films. It's unfortunate because it's very important to the human spirit to laugh, and it's not an easy thing to
Well, although
achieve.
you've both starred in films where the critics did like it as much as the audience, such as General Benjamin. I've upped you. You know, certainly the critics adored that film.
Yeah, they did, but it was also a film that had an important feminist social message.
Yeah.
So it had undertones of.
I know I learned a lot from it.
Did you? And what did you learn? It wasn't never to get married, because you did
Well,
that.
just the importance of a woman being on her own and that she's a person too.
More on that later.
I learned that too.
You learned it?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, yes.
Baby steps.
What?
And from Last
Those are
Boy
baby
Scout,
steps.
I
Yeah.
learned that when you put the gun in someone's mouth, you should really put it up high and not point it back, because then you just blow out their neck. You want to blow out their brain.
These are very important social messages we're learning. We're learning here.
Where else would you learn something like that?
You know, one of your early, I think one of your earlier films, Steve, is still considered a classic, Pennies from Heaven. And I don't know if this movie, I hate to talk about money with movies, how much they made, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think the film did as well as they had hoped.
Well, what happens over time is the box office. I mean, it was a difficult movie. Phineas and Ferb is a very difficult movie for a special audience. And, you know, over time, these box office numbers are forgotten. It's like It's a Wonderful Life. It was like a medium flop when it came out.
True.
And that sort of goes away, and movies come back, and
They
have a life.
They have a life.
Based on their quality, not on their box office.
I like the way you phrase that, medium flop instead of medium hit. That's.
What'd you say?
I like.
Oh, you like the way
I like the way medium flop instead of medium
Well, it's
hit.
because I don't have a command of the English language. I have to make up things.
This film, House Sitter.
I'll be saying things like, I think House Sitter is really funniest.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It sounds good to me. House Sitter, since you brought it up, is truly one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. It's got, well, first of all, it has such an interesting setting, and the people in it are to me interesting, and I trust to most people who will see the film. They're not your ordinary characters. Was there something in particular that let me ask each of you this, that drew you to those specific characters?
I had some questions about this character, in that she was odd and made some kind of odd choices. And I wanted to do, there were a lot of things that were deciding factors to do this movie. One is that my kids read it and loved it.
Yeah.
And Oliver said, he read it all through dinner one night before I had read it, and my son Oliver, who's 15, said, Mom, you've got to do this movie. Steve Martin is going to be so funny. And I said, well, great. What about my character? Anyway, I then ran and read the movie, and it was funny. And she's an odd kind of character, and I thought, this would be an interesting and fun thing for me to play. But it was Steve who I wanted to work with. It was a funny script.
Mm-hmm.
The character I had some questions about. However, in our meetings and so forth, we answered most of them. And the director, Frank Oz, was great. And
Yes.
I just, after doing 2 dramas, I really wanted to do something funny, and with, you know, who I consider an extremely funny man.
The film you just did for MGM Crisscross was, I thought, superb.
Thank you.
Just superb. Steve, let me ask you the same question then about the character you played.
Well, I seldom select a movie on the character. I look at it and I see a funny movie. And, you know, Goldie has a very flashy part, and I have sort of a, on paper it's kind of a reactive part, but I think it kind of changed during the shooting of it. So I'm happy to be in and around these kind of movies. What I love about this movie is because the story is so interesting, or at least to me, you never know where it's going. And that's very hard to find in a movie today, because usually it's, you know, oh, they're going to meet, oh, they're going to end up together, oh, let's go home. And you don't know where this movie's going, and also I like that the movie starts when you watch it with an audience, and there's just a couple of laughs for the first 15 minutes, because the story is being set up.
Right.
And then suddenly, when the plot gets complicated, there's these bursts of spontaneous laughter just from a character walking in a room. You know, you can hear that, uh-oh.
All right, then I think it's fair to say, since the movie opens in a rather, as you say, unconventional way, we shouldn't probably tell the audience that the 2 characters end up shooting each other at the end of the movie. That would kind of spoil it for them.
It would.
I think.
Terrible.
Yeah. What's up next for each of you, film-wise?
Nothing for me. Vacation time.
Yeah. I'm doing a
Well, you've
film
been
in-
doing movie after movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I'm taking a rest.
yeah.
I'm doing a film in Texas, sort of a dramatic film in which I play a con man evangelist.
Ooh, that sounds great.
And the nutty letters have already
Oh.
started to show up.
Someone would
I
say
like this
that's almost redundant. A con man.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's legitimate. Evangelist.
That sounds
Well,
very
everybody has to
very
make a
interesting.
living.
Well, my thanks to you for taking this time to talk about House Sitter for Universal, because it's as I said at the onset, it is indeed one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time, with little touches throughout that I think people will just get a big kick out of. And what more from this kind of film can you ask? You
That's
know?
great, thank you.
So my thanks to you, and I certainly look forward to our next talk.